Welcome back to another exciting episode of Competitive Games. Last episode we looked at an example from the game StarCraft where players sought to negotiate balance by lobbying developers. We pointed out the blurred line between scrubs and proponents of balance. In this episode we are going to look at what happens to competitive play, balance, and culture when the developers talk back. Because many competitive games are now living artifacts, it is in the developer's best interest to communicate with their player base, in part to keep the players satisfied and thus loyal, especially in the case of subscription-based games, but also to gauge, poll, and test what players want changed within the game. This communication impacts competitive play because it allows developers to supplement, or errata, the rules of the game. Serlin argued that playing to win means using and abusing game glitches and exploits, though he stops short of advocating cheating. Many players are swayed by his argument. They contend that the use or abuse of such glitches and exploits constitute a creative use of game mechanics. Adherence to Serlin's policy in such cases means interpreting or ignoring developers' intent. Obviously this creates problems when the developers have a hand in controlling the game's features and functions beyond release. In an age of information, where networked communities can relay information at astounding speeds, game glitches and exploits are hard to keep secret. Developers quickly learn about such problems and, depending on the severity of the problem, may rush to hotfix the game. Setting aside various interpretations of severe for the moment, it's important to recognize that developers may also choose to not hotfix the problem. Instead, they might just announce that the issue will be fixed. When that happens, the notice may be accompanied by a warning that players who exploit the problem will be reprimanded, often through temporary bans, prohibiting them from playing. If the developers do not include a warning, the tacit understanding is that the devs consider it a creative use of game mechanics until it can be patched. End-user license agreements and terms of service contracts require players' consent to many additional rules and stipulations beyond the game's formal coding and programming. EULA and TOS further complicate Serlin's argument. Under such agreements and terms, most devs reserve the right to ban players for abusing a glitch before any official statement has been made about that glitch. This becomes precarious for champions of Serlin. They must weigh the benefits and risks and even try to anticipate the developer response. Will the devs hotfix the problem or leave it in the game? Will they view the abuse as a creative use of game mechanics or reprimand the abusers? Will they announce an impending fix and warn players not to abuse the issue? Each question's answer involves navigating the discourse and cultural communities that grow around games. Each question emphasizes the importance of understanding such discourses and cultures in competitive play. That's all for this episode. Check back next time, when we will examine Serlin's caveat that playing to win is not always productive. Until then, thanks for stopping by, and keep on gaming.